limited exposure to the very rich and diverse history of Indian cinema. And we wanted to come here on behalf of the Academy to learn more about what Indian filmmakers and Indian filmmaking institutions hope to do in the future, especially in their relationship with the Academy, and also to promote more active dialogue among our different cultures. So that's why we're here.
If you can have questions, and if you could identify yourself. Sure. 1, 2 is keep the question brief. Sure. And let everyone get a chance, please.
Hi, I'm Nyai Bhushan from The Hollywood Reporter. I want to know, in terms of...
Can you just 1 minute speak?
Hi, yeah. I'm Nyai Bhushan from The Hollywood Reporter. I just wanted to ask you about, you talked about that in the session as well. If you could expand a bit more on how you plan to increase Indian membership of the Academy. I know last year the Academy added lots of members from all over the world, and I think right now we have 27 Indian members. So going forward, how do we see more Indian members in the Academy?
Historically, the principal way new members were accepted in the Academy were if current members sponsored them. And there was a process where you would need 2 letters of support from people in your branch. You can only be supported and sponsored by members in your branch. In Carol's case, from the film editor's branch, in my case, from the cinematographers. When we started what is called the A2020 initiative, which is a directive that the Board of Governors did with our Academy staff in membership, we decided to do more proactive investigation and exploration of filmmakers around the world, that the executive committees of the different branches could look at their work, ask questions to find out who they are, and whether they might want to be considered for Academy membership. So instead of being passive and waiting for sponsorship to come to us, we have been reaching out. And there's an aspect that is called committee considered. And so many of our international members, the last 3 years, increasing numbers, have been accepted into the Academy through the committee considered list. And what happens is we have an executive committee, which is usually between 25 and 35 members from each branch that constitute an oversight executive committee that meets several times a year. The principal time being right now it's going on, the different 17 branches meeting, to look at a considered list of names that have been forwarded by both members in terms of letter support, and that the staff and the research people have said these are people that we should be looking at. And so we do our research with these names, video links to look at the work, and then we meet, discuss, and decide whether or not to offer membership, to that group. The next step after that is the compiled list from each branch. We have a meeting which will be at the end of June, where the full Board of Governors accepts the recommendations of the 17 executive branch committees, and then they're offered a full membership. As I said in the earlier meeting, we have been offering membership to many more international members. The last year's membership class of 928 filmmakers, 50% of them were international from outside the United States.
Yeah, next question, please. Yeah, please.
I'm Santosh Mehta. I'm independent journalist and covered many film festivals. I would like to know, this is a basic question. I would like to know, what kind of experience have you got while you are visiting Delhi in many places? And the other question, how editing helps you, as a filmmaking, like you are editing the films, asking madam.
Yes, I am a film editor, and I've been working in film for probably about 40 years, and I've done almost that many feature films. I don't know exactly what you want to know about editing, because I could probably spend days and weeks talking about it. But it is traditionally an area of film that's open to women. And in my branch, there are probably about 17%, 20% of the members are women, which is a large percentage considering that some branches have none. Or few. Yes, few. So I've been working in essentially a man's world all this time, and it has not been a burden in a sense that I feel that we can pretty much hold our own. I don't know what else you want to say.
That's fine, ma'am.
Okay.
Can I have the mic?
Yeah, next question, please.
But he hasn't replied to the question.
No, I mean, basically, she wanted to ask you your experience of New Delhi. Yeah.
Mr. Belli, actually.
Yeah.
We've only been here about 6 hours. I have 3 impressions. The hotel that we're staying in, which we won't be able to sleep in tonight because we have to leave, which is glorious, absolutely incredible. The second impression was how aggressive the traffic is. We came in, right, Ujjwal, at rush hour, and we were trying to be in a 3-vehicle convoy, and it was almost impossible, even with a police escort, to help us break through traffic. That's the second impression. The third impression is what a glorious experience it has been, both before the encounter with filmmakers we just had, and at the meeting we had at the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting that was really not about commerce or business. It was about creative engagement and creative encounter of how American and Indian filmmakers could continue our dialogue and make it richer. It was really, wasn't it, Ujjwal? It was a really wonderful discussion about creativity, which I think kind of disarmed us a little bit, because so often as we travel around the world and you walk into a government building that is a ministry of something, it's usually about business and commerce, and but this really was about the creative aspects of filmmaking. We were so thrilled with it, weren't we?
Thank you very much. Next question, please.
Yeah, Mr. Bailey, Ravi.
Can you identify yourself?
Ravi from PTI. My question to you is that what do you think is the reason that Indian films are not able to make it into the best international feature film category of the Oscars? And the second part of my question is that this category is traditionally been dominated by European films, with France and Italy having 26 films between them. So do you think this will change in the future?
First of all, I don't think that was a question, it was a statement. I mean, I understand your perspective, and fine. I don't know how to answer that because I think you have an opinion already. The fact of the matter is, I think we are in a very rich period of international engagement. You're right. In the past, there have been tremendous numbers of Eurocentric, but there are multiple reasons for that, which have nothing to do with India, say. But I mean, if you go back, the what used to be called the Foreign Language Film Award, which we now call International Feature Award, has a rich history that when it started in 1946 or 47, the films that won before it was an established category, it was an honorary Oscar. And films like Bicycle Thieves and Shoe Shine, were awarded. Italian neo-realist films. Rashomon in 1950, which was the way Japanese post-war film was introduced to the international world. Those aren't, Italian is Eurocentric, I guess, but there's been a rich history. In 1956, the award was made permanent. It's no longer an honorary award, but a regular Oscar. And I believe that year it was Fellini's La Strada. And yeah, you're right, a lot of them have been Eurocentric, but the fact of the matter is that first year, of the regular Oscar in 1956, there were only 16 countries that submitted. There was not a whole wide non-European exposure or submission. That has continued to grow. A year ago, 92 or 93 countries submitted films. This past year, there were 87 countries. We fully expect that pretty soon it's going to be 100 countries. And especially in the last decade, there has been very, very rich exposure of non-European films that have been nominated and honored. Films like Timbuktu from Jordan, Muz from Mauritania, their first ever film, Thebe from Jordan. Last year, an Argentinian film won the Oscar, Una Mujer Fantástica, Fantastic Woman. Major film a year ago from Lebanon, which does not have a whole broad history of submission, a film called The Insult. And then this year, Capernaum was nominated directed by a woman, Nadine Labaki. Films of Nuri Bilge Ceylan from Turkey. He's had, I think that Once Upon a Time in Anatolia was nominated. I'm not sure. But his films, every time he makes a film, and those films are long, they're 2.5 to 3 hours long. It takes him several years to make them. His films are so highly anticipated. So, I don't buy your argument about Eurocentric. I think it's diminishing. And it's diminishing because what we have seen, since Carol and I have been involved with the International Film Executive Committee for many years, every year we are seeing more and more countries make magnificent films that just make us, stand back and look in awe. This year, we have a short list, the second phase, where 9 films make a short list, and another group of Academy members votes for the 5 nominated. Okay. This year, those 87 films, I think we easily could have found 18 or 20 of those films that were worthy of being put on the short list. It was heartbreaking for Carol and me to see some of the films that were not put on the short list or nominated. There's an amazing film from Paraguay called The Heiresses, Las Herederas. An amazing film from Uruguay about the internment and torture during the 1970s called 12 Years Night. It almost got a nomination. I think Nuri Bilge Ceylan's the most recent film, The Wild Pear Tree, was very highly regarded. I could go on and on. So don't talk to me about centric films, okay? I think that's changing.
So I think we took you down the memory lane. Anyway, just 1 minute. Mr. Bailey is extremely traveling. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll just have last 2 questions.
Sir, good afternoon. My name is Sanjay Agarwal. I'm from Allied News. My question is one different. You're a cinematographer. So I'm talking about the Roman Holiday and Titanic. If you were to shoot that movie, how different it would be? If you were to be the cinematographer for these 2 movies, so how different would you shoot them?
If I were to have shot either Roman Holiday or Titanic,
But what do you do? Yeah.
First of all, why question? Why those 2?
Those ones, everybody is watching, most of the people here.
I'm sorry, but I don't think that way. It would never occur to me to ask myself that question. I look at a movie on its own terms. I either like it or don't like it, or whatever reaction I have. That's the statement of the filmmakers. I don't feel it is my position. I would think that would be the ultimate gesture of hubris for me to say, I think it should have been photographed this way. I mean, those filmmakers have lived with that movie. And whether you like the movie or not, they made it the way they did because they were inside of it and they believed it.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Vikram Nair. I'm a professional anchor and
You have
actor.
a great voice. I understand that.
I hope I'm audible to
I
you.
tell you, in India, it's interesting because we've met a number of Indian voiceover narrators, actors. I got an incredible voice, right?
Am I audible to you, sir, now?
Pardon me?
Am I audible to you?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
My name is Vikram Nair. I'm a professional anchor and actor. Sir, I really appreciate your first session, pre-lunch session. It was very informative and interesting. I would like to ask you two questions. Number one, you have been living legend and you worked for 47 years. And would you like to describe your interesting journey just in one catchy line? Number two, Mr. Khare, Amit Khare, who is the Secretary in Information Broadcasting, he mentioned very candidly that India is loaded with talent. There is not lots of talent in this country. But in Bollywood, we have only 5% outsiders. And what about Hollywood? Do we have a lot of favoritism like India? I would like to have an answer, please. Thank you.
I don't know how to answer either of those questions. The first one, you want me to describe my life in film in one or two sentences? I don't know how to do that. It's taken me 47 years married to her, and another decade before we were married, where we were talking about films and seeing films all the time. It's a journey. How do you Carol has walked parts of the Santiago Compostela medieval pilgrimage trail in southern France and Spain. How would you ask her, Carol, how was it to walk the pilgrimage trail?
Sorry to interrupt. My idea to know your secret of enthusiasm which you're maintaining till now.
Curiosity. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be glib, but I don't know how to answer that question. And the second one was what?
Second one, Mr. Amit Khare mentioned we have a lot of talent in all the states, Jharkhand, here and there. So we have only 5% outsiders in the film industry in Bollywood. And what about Hollywood? Do we have impact of favoritism in Hollywood like Bollywood in India?
Do Indian films have...
I'm talking about favoritism. Do we favor people that he is known to us, we'll take him as an actor? Like in India, 95% people are picked up from the Bollywood, family.
Oh, I see. Just 1 minute. I think it's a little unfair as to him in the sense that, I mean, if you were asking him to comment on favoritism as far as Indian system is concerned. No, even in Hollywood. I mean, that's, you see, I mean, he is not, it would be incorrect to ask him to give an opinion on something which can be a personal observation. Request you would be that his creativity, art, etc. is fine, but
Mr. Chaitanya, it's a very candid question.
No,
We're living in a
that's fine.
democratic country.
No, I'm not asking it's democratic, it's fine. What I'm requesting you to do is that he has said categorically that, how do I answer that question? Even if there is so-called, I mean, he would be in a better position to answer for Hollywood. But the fact of the matter is, favoritism or no favoritism is a very subjective opinion, right? It's not something which you and I can decide.
I don't feel, I barely know anything about the history of Indian cinema. What I've begun to discover is how rich and diverse it is, how many different Indian cinemas they are, what different cultures, temperaments, aesthetic values they represent. That I've become aware of. In terms of the internal dialogue or dissensions or favoritism, prejudices or whatever, I have no knowledge of that. And I would have to be part of that system to have a perspective. I'm sure you mentioned something about 5% being non-Bollywood members of the Academy. Is that what you were saying?
No, I mentioned 5% are taken from outside. 94% actors are considered from the industry itself.
From Bollywood.
Bollywood.
Well, I don't know anything about that.
I think, just finish it off.
Yes, sir. It's the last question, and that's I'm addressing it to Madam. Ma'am, I'm a film editor basically, and so my this thing is to know about your journey of shifting your focus from 35 or celluloid editing to the digital one. What were the differences and what were the challenges did you face?
Well, there were plenty of challenges because that was a big move, and I took that move over about a 2 or 3 year period from 94 to about 97 rate. And it was a very big change for all of us who were editors on film first. But I began to realize it's just another tool, because I cut movies and edit movies the same way I did when it was on film. It's just a different kind of tool. It makes film more accessible. The choices can be done somewhat more quickly, but it still takes time to sync them. You still have to have a thought first before you can actually make an edit. And I think the skill that I had as a film editor as opposed to a digital editor, it's pretty much the same. It's just the difference between driving an electric car or driving a car that's internal combustion.
That's it. Just a sec, please. I mean, as I mentioned to you, it can go on. I mean, we can keep them seated for another hour. I mean, that's not fair. Last question, Tripti, and then we close the question. Please.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Tripti Nath. I work for Japan's leading newspaper, Las Aishin. I just want to understand, you were here for just 4 or 5 days, and you said that a whole new world unfolded before you in the freelance session. You also said that there's little understanding about, little exposure that you have in US to Indian cinema. Why is that the case? Why do you have little exposure to Indian cinema?
Yeah, Cheryl said it. One word: distribution, exhibition. There aren't many places to see Indian cinema, and all I can say is, however, whatever reason, whether it's public relations, whether it's cinemas that show the films, whatever, they're not available to see. So that's not a question I can answer. I'm sorry. I feel Carol and I are being asked questions that really you should be asking yourselves. I don't mean to be rude, but I mean, why are Indian films not being more broadly shown? I assume not just in Hollywood in the United States. I know they're very popular in China, right? Is that true? I was told that yeah, okay. Are they popular in Korea or Japan? They are? Okay, so they're popular in large areas of Asia, Southeastern Asia. Do they not cross the Pacific? Do they not get to Europe? Do the French see many Indian films? Yeah, okay, well, so the question is, this is a question you all need to ask yourself, and you need to talk to maybe your government ministries, your public relations organizations, your distributors, on a marketing level. You need to why? What are you doing? Why can't you promote Indian films internationally more? If that is the question, and I don't know. The other question you might ask is, are our films, or the films that we're submitting, are those films that speak to other countries outside of Southeast Asia? I don't know. I don't have a perspective on it. But I think the most important thing you can do is have internal dialogue here about what you can do among yourselves to promote, your best films.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey and ma'am. You rightly said, I think the government, in your interaction in the morning with my secretary, Mr. Amit Kharre, he would have given you the blueprint as to how the government proposes to reach out. And you saw the film of Film Facilitation Office, and my joint secretary, Mr. Parmar, is here, and Ashok Parmar, because they are initiating the roadmap to take films across, either through festivals or country B2B contact. And so there is a kind of a aggressive foray taking place as far as marketing India's soft power is concerned, as well as inviting foreign filmmakers to come to India with the kind of financial incentives that are in offering. So what perhaps you may see in the coming years, and thanks to your visit, which has been flagged everywhere and anywhere as far as this country is concerned, we would have more presence. I think a lot of the people out here and in the interaction wanted to see better visibility for Indian cinema on the red carpet of Oscars or in the selection process. I think that was the underlying theme. And the fact of the matter is, people would work hard and make sure that we we arrive in the best possible manner of excellence as other countries do. And thank you very much.
There's just one more thing.
Yeah, please.
To finish. You know, what I'd like to say, leave you with, and which has been the dominant feeling Carol and I have had while we're here, is everyone we have talked to about your community, about Indians, and you are all so impassioned about your own movies, and you are so wanting to have your movies shared with the rest of the world. That is an incredible message that you've given to us, and it has excited us so much. You know, we are energized, and you just need to keep communicating that message to whoever comes here, and to reach out beyond.
And sir, and now we would expect you to come back to India more frequently.
We would love to.
So I'm sure the government would offer you more opportunity in the future. Thank you so much, and that's very kind of you.